Welcome to the program Global Weekly News, serial number 182. Comrades and friends, first, Global Weekly News 183. First item, US military threats against Venezuela. The United States has announced the imposition of a naval blockade on Venezuela after months of military build-up in the Caribbean, including blowing up boats, killing the people, and illegally seizing an oil tanker. Left and communist parties across Asia issued a statement expressing solidarity with the people of Venezuela who are facing unprecedented attacks from the United States with an aggressive military build-up in the Caribbean, as well as open threats of invasion. The statement dated 16th December notes the concerns over ongoing military escalation in the Caribbean and the aggression against Venezuela by the imperialist US and demands the immediate cessation, stopping of all such hostile activities. The statement was signed by the Communist Party of India, Marxist-Leninist Liberation, the Socialist Party of Malaysia, the Party of Laboring Masses of Philippines, and Indonesia's Left Party. The US deployed a large contingent of warships in the Caribbean starting in August this year and has amassed over 15,000 military personnel. President Donald Trump claims it to be the largest naval mobilization in the region ever. This was to fight alleged drug trafficking from the region. The United States has threatened war with Venezuela, accusing its government led by Nicolas Maduro of supporting the drug cartels. The US has failed to provide any evidence for all its accusations against the Maduro government. Last week, the United States illegally seized a large tanker carrying oil from Venezuela to Cuba. The Maduro-led government in Venezuela has been targeted by the United States with unilateral punitive measures for years. In the past decade, the US has justified such aggressive measures against Venezuela by accusing Maduro of being authoritarian, allegedly suppressing political opposition in the country and manipulating elections to stay in power, and most recently declaring that President of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, is the head of an international drug trafficking organization. The intention of the US imperialism is clear, which is to remove the current Venezuelan government led by Nicolas Maduro, to reverse the gains of the Bolivarian revolution, and to restore the pro-US puppet government in Venezuela. The joint statement says, Trump claimed Venezuela's oil belongs to the US. What an atrocity. The left parties in Asia also asserted that the people of Venezuela have every right to defend their sovereignty and to determine their own path of development without any intervention from foreign imperialist powers. Second item, comrades. World Festival of Youth and Students. Nearly 80 years after the first World Festival of Youth and Students held in 1947 in Prague under the motto, Youth Unite, Forward for Lasting Peace. Following the victory over Nazi fascism in the Second World War with the decisive contribution of anti-fascist resistance, USSR and the Soviet people, which paved the way for a period of profound global transformations, the struggle for peace against fascism and imperialist war once again takes on the utmost importance. The war against fascism and imperialist once again takes on the utmost importance. The increase in military spending, the arms race, war, occupation, interference, economic, military and political coercion are all fostered by, are all developed by imperialist policies such as by the United States, NATO, and the European Union to impose their dictates and dominations, assaulting the rights and aspirations of youth, workers, and peoples. The intensification of imperialism's aggressiveness reflects the crisis of capitalism, the relative decline of the US and the other G7 powers, and the growing economic development and role in international relations achieved by other countries. World developments require the strengthening of the struggle of the peoples and youth for peace, sovereignty, and rights against imperialism. The genocide of the Palestinian people, the continuous bombings of Lebanon, and the aggression on peoples of the Middle East, the conflict occurring in Ukraine, making suffer both peoples, interference and conflicts in Africa, the threats of military aggression is USA against Venezuela and Colombia, the blockade of Cuba and interference in Latin America, the militarization of Asia Pacific. So, how far imperialism and monopolies are willing to go to achieve their objectives. The profits of economic and financial groups, including the war industry, grow. Millions of youth lack sufficient food, access to clean water, basic hygiene conditions, basic health care, or access to education, work with rights, housing, etc. Many young people in their own countries or in the countries to which they were forced to emigrate or seek refuge face situations of discrimination, racism, xenophobia, and violence, particularly fostered by reactionary and fascist forces. All over the world, many young people are resisting and fighting. The 20th World Festival of Youth and Students will be an impressive moment of solidarity with all the peoples of the world who resist imperialist aggression and interference. The festival will be held in Caracas, the capital of Venezuela, in 2026. Third item, comrades. Sahel Alliance, unified military force. Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are the Sahel Alliance partners. This alliance of Sahel states, AES, has taken a decisive step toward regional self-defense after officially launching a joint military force aimed at combating Islamist insurgency and terrorism across the Sahel. The United Force was inaugurated on 20th December during a ceremony held at an airbase in Bamako, Mali's capital. The newly established forces brings together approximately 5,000 troops drawn from the 3 member states. It is designed to integrate air power, intelligence sharing, and coordinated ground operations to confront armed groups that have destabilized large parts of the Sahel region for over a decade. The military launch follows a series of symbolic and political moves that underline the bloc's growing autonomy. Earlier in the year, the AES, the Alliance of Sahel States, unveiled a new flag. The 3 countries also introduced a joint AES passport, AES television, AES radio, and AES print media are also created. Mali hosted a summit of AES which concluded on 23rd December. Burkina Faso's leader, Captain Ibrahim Traore, was appointed as the new head of the Sahel Alliance. Fourth item, comrades. Bolivia's new right-wing government eliminates fuel subsidies. On 17th August, presidential elections were held in Bolivia. No candidate could get 50% votes. Therefore, the second round of elections took place on 19th December. Rodrigo Falls of the Christian Democratic Party won by polling 55% votes. Movement for Socialism in power for 20 years got defeated. Bolivian President Paz government eliminated the various gasoline subsidies on his ex-account. Paz justified the unpopular measure. I have decided to declare an economic and social emergency that seeks to bring hydrocarbon prices into line with reality. The new resources will be distributed 50% directly to our regions and state governments, ensuring that everyone's efforts are converted into better hospitals, better schools and services for every Bolivian. As a compensatory measure, Paz ordered 20% increase in the national minimum wage. The decision was welcomed by the U.S. Department of State in a statement on X. Organized workers, including miners, laborers, transport workers, and cocoa growers, quickly announced the protests and demanded the repeal of Decree, that means Emergency Law, Decree 5503, which they claim will increase the price of products in a country suffering from an economic crisis. Thousands of workers filled the streets of La Paz on 22nd December and demonstrated. Decree 5503 contains provisions that seek to sell off our country, our companies and our natural resources, making the millionaires richer and the poor poorer. We cannot allow that to happen, said one of the union leaders. The National Federation of Mining Cooperatives of Bolivia led the massive mobilization on 22nd December in La Paz. One of the leaders of the miners says the decision will radically increase operating costs for small and medium-sized mining companies, leading to unemployment and hunger among the workers. The Bolivian Workers' Union stated that President Paz's decision was not consulted with the sectors that could be most affected, and therefore they claim that it is a unilateral decision. Bolivarian Workers' Union began talks with the Paz administration on 24th December. The union declared that it will not call off the protests until Decree 5503 is repealed. Comrades and friends, reforms in Mali, fifth item. Mali is one of the world's top 20 gold producers and Africa's third largest gold producer, and it relies heavily on mining as a pillar of its economy. Yet, in light of the disparity in the amount of minerals exported and revenue that Mali was obtaining for them, authorities concluded that the country was not receiving its fair share of benefits from its natural resources. A full audit was ordered by the government. The audit review revealed that the state had lost $120 crore. This loss is due to unfavorable contracts, tax gaps, and weak oversight. Sixth item, comrades. Medicine shortage, health crisis in Gaza. Israeli restrictions on medical supply deliveries are intensifying Gaza's health crisis amidst the ongoing genocide. A severe shortage of essential medicines is deepening the health crisis created by the genocide. Gaza's Ministry of Health has warned that around 320 essential medicines have already reached zero stock, with many others at critically low levels. Beyond medicines, hospitals and health centers across Gaza, many of them still attempting to resume limited operations and widespread destructions, are also lacking diagnostic equipment and laboratory supplies. Items such as ultrasound machines, laboratory materials, and cleaning supplies remain unavailable. The slow flow of medical supplies into Gaza has also drawn warnings from WHO and other UN agencies. According to Ministry of Health of Gaza, an estimated 2 lakh people are currently at risk of not having access to emergency medical care due to these shortages. A 70% shortage in oncology means that cancer medicine, 70% shortage in oncology medications has deprived 1,000 cancer patients of treatment. It is noted that several patients have died due to the inability to complete treatment protocols. Already, the severe health conditions are being further worsened by winter weather, with hundreds of thousands of displaced people still living in tents or among rubble. As much of Gaza's water and sanitation infrastructure has been destroyed during the genocide, cold temperatures and flooding of water pose additional threats when it comes to infections. Winter conditions combined with poor water and sanitation are expected to drive a surge in acute respiratory infections, hepatitis and diarrheal diseases. Doctors warned children are once again expected to bear the heaviest burden. Comrades and friends, 7th item, 2026 World Inequality Report. Neoliberal free market economic policies are creating an unprecedented concentration of wealth and power in the hands of a few, leaving the majority population with little or no means to make a decent life, almost no power over their destiny, claims the 2026 World Inequality Report. The report is published every 5 years from 2018 by the Paris-based World Inequality Lab in collaboration with the United Nations Development Programme. This year's report was edited by economists, including Thomas Piketty. The report is prefaced by Jayati Ghosh and Nobel Prize winner Joseph Stiglitz. According to this year's report, wealth and income inequality are both rising across the world, with the richest 10% of the world's population owning 3/4 of all personal wealth and more than 50% of all the income. Lastly, comrades, United States launches large-scale strikes against ISIS in Syria. As 2025 draws to its end, the United States does not seem to have wrapped up its packed war agenda across the globe, which has had a considerable focus in the West Asia region. The U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, announced in a statement on 19th December that the U.S. struck over 70 targets of the Islamic State in Iraq in different areas across Syria earlier during the day in cooperation with the Jordanian forces. The statement indicated that the targets included infrastructure and weapons sites belonging to the ISIS group, Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, that is ISIS. It also added that the large-scale operation was launched in response to an ambush attack carried out by ISIS against the US and its partner forces in the Arab country on 13th December. According to CENTCOM, the US Central Command, 3 US citizens, including 2 soldiers and 1 civilian interpreter, were killed in the attack. On 21st December, Syria's interim government announced that Syrian internal security units and the General Intelligence Directorate dismantled a cell affiliated with ISIS and arrested its leaders. An extension on military and security campaign against ISIS will presumably continue. And 22nd December, the Syrian and Turkey governments declared in a joint statement that Damascus and Ankara discussed a number of issues of common interest, including efforts to counter terrorism, fight ISIS, and prevent its re-emergence in Syria. Thank you, comrades. Lal Salam. See you next week. Probably I may be in Vizag attending CAT All India Conference. So there may be a holiday for Global Weekly News next week. Thank you. Lal Salam.